we have no choice but to continue living and resisting under the weight of these crimes that are being committed.
Hazrat Zainab, the sister of Imam Hussein, after Ashura, after Imam Hussein was martyred because he refused humiliation, the grandson of the Prophet, because he was going to Kufa because people asked him to help them against the oppressor, the despot of their time. And he, of course, along with his companions, refused to submit, even though the people who invited him there, they were forced to go into the army to fight him. And he refused to submit, and he said, no to submission. Later, his sister and his family were taken to Yazid's palace, and Yazid said, "How do you feel now? Or what do you think?" In sort of to humiliate her. And she said, "I saw nothing but beauty." This is very painful. These days are very heartbreaking. Seeing people on the streets, hearing the drones, knowing that people are going to be hit and killed in the coming minutes and hours. Even sometimes you just sit and you're thinking about something else and you remember Sayyid Hassan. All these things are painful, and they distract us. They make it difficult for us to think and to move forward. But ultimately, all of this has its own beauty, in the sense that the people are resisting. Amidst all this pain and suffering, if you look at the overall picture, these people are standing up to the Israeli regime. They're standing up to the empire, an empire of lies, with their media that creates all these. This is the most hypocritical empire in human history, and thus the most evil, because they are the most powerful, but also the most hypocritical ever. But people are resisting. So while this pain and suffering hurts us, but the beauty of resistance amongst these very same people is something that I find, it's what motivates me.
Yesterday I had a moment of realizing that we will never hear him speak again.
Yeah.
Give us clarity and strength with his words, But, maybe a lot of people have lost sight of our human condition. Many prophets, wise men and women in human history have died on this path of justice. It definitely is what keeps us going in this region, our understanding of the meaning of life, that we're here to prove to our Creator that we are just with others when we were not just with our Creator in heaven. That's the only meaning of life. So what do you think this well of knowledge and love that is here in our people, what's the role of this in our struggle?
This is the heart of the struggle. This is what makes our struggle worthwhile. This is what makes living worthwhile. Otherwise, what's a value in the world that we live in if there is no struggle for good? And the struggle to help the victims and to stand up against the oppressor. Despite all odds, the worse the odds, the greater the struggle. Sayyid Hassan was the manifestation of struggle, of beauty, of love, of humanity. He always took the right side, even when it costed him greatly. He was enormously popular. But when he knew, for example, that NATO is carrying out a dirty war in Syria, and NATO and its regional allies were lying and creating false narratives about ISIS and Al-Qaeda and all these other groups as freedom fighters. And when countries of the region did a deal with the devil to help NATO, and we knew it was to cut Syria away from the resistance, to isolate the resistance in Lebanon and the West Bank and Gaza for today, when they need support from the most. But he took a stand. He said, my popularity is not important. What is important is to stop these extremists, these fanatics that are tools of NATO. Just like the Contras in Latin America or any other extreme. The West is their expertise in lying and supporting the worst of the worst.
Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, in his last speech, I think, spoke very frankly to the people about the kind of struggle that we're in. And I think it took a year for the leadership of the Axis of Resistance to, speak in those words. It is an anti-colonial decolonization struggle, which are bloody and long. And many of the leaders of the resistance will be martyred on the way, just like in Vietnam and Algeria, when only a few of those who started that struggle were alive to see the liberation. And he said that I may not be with you, but we will see Palestine liberated. And I think those words were prophetic, obviously. He knew the price that was put on his head and what he was offered if he gives up on Palestine. So,
you know that Sayyid Hassan could have left Lebanon and it would have been completely justified to protect him from the enemy. But he knew that he was the target. So that, I think, just shows his dedication. But also, he's not alone. There are many tens of thousands of young Lebanese who are willing to give everything for the cause, for this anti-colonial cause, this war between good and evil. These are the best. When he spoke of Afdalun Nas, the best of the people. These are the best of the people. We have them in Lebanon, we have them in Yemen, we have them in Palestine, we have them in Syria and Iraq and Iran, who are all dedicating themselves to the cause. And he is absolutely correct. There will be victory, and you're absolutely correct. The price will be high, but it is the price that we have to pay. When I'm a nobody. But when they first struck southern Lebanon, the first day when they started bombing, killing 500 people, I asked to come here because I knew that during the first days, I didn't know it would be like this, but I knew that they probably needed someone. We don't have media in the resistance. We don't have very good media. We have very little. I don't mean to diminish the good work that people are doing, but compared to the enemy, we have very little. So I thought at least I'd spend a few days here and try to help amplify the voice of the resistance. But there are thousands of people who can do what I'm doing and what you're doing, and they will continue to do it. It doesn't matter if we survive the struggle, although I'm not based here, and I will be going back probably shortly if nothing happens. But the point, you will be here carrying out the struggle. But then, of course, the war may expand. The point is that we don't know where this is going to go, but we know it's going to be hard and it's going to be painful. But I have absolutely no doubt that those people who follow Sayyid Hassan are today more steadfast and more committed than they were the day before he was martyred. The chaos now will end, and people will stand their ground. And we have God. We're answerable to Him. So whether we live or die, it doesn't matter. We're responsible to Him. It doesn't matter if this is happening in Lebanon or in Gaza or anywhere else. The fight against aggression, the fight against racism, the fight against Zionism and all other such ideologies is our fight. And if we die fighting, each in our own way, if we lose our jobs, as many I'm sure have done, if we have to make sacrifices, so be it. And they will do that. Many young people will do that from all walks of life, from different countries with different religious and ethnic backgrounds. The resistance is growing. And that, I think, is the beauty of this resistance. The suffering that people are tolerating today is painful, but there's, as I said earlier, there's a beauty in this resistance that is being seen across the world. And people are joining the resistance. You know, we see people, I saw a clip from Australia where people were commemorating Sayyid Hassan. They are going to pay a price for that. The regime is going to punish these people. But the resistance is growing. People are willing to make sacrifices. The enemy will hurt us. But since we know our cause is right and God is just, and that there is no chosen people, and that no people on this planet have any exceptional rights because of their lineage or because of their race, what we do is, whatever happens to us, whether we emerge victorious and you and I meet each other a few years' time in Quds and Al-Quds, or whether we do not witness that day, we're doing the right thing, and we will end up in the right place.
And somebody else will witness it, inshallah.
Definitely.
So, given right now that we saw the elite in the West all condoning, number one, the martyrdom, genocide, assassination of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, the beginnings of the destruction of Lebanon, the genocide in Gaza, it seems like the Western elite will go as far as they can in defense of this Zionist colony. So let's presume right now an all-out war breaks out with Lebanon because of the might of the resistance. Clearly the Zionists will not be able to defend themselves alone, and the West intervenes directly. They are here in the sea, in the water, waiting. Their jets are over us. What will happen next? Will we see a direct war with the West?
It's very hard to say. I think this war will expand. How far will it expand? I don't know. You're absolutely correct, though. The political establishment in the West is fully behind the Israeli regime. When Justin Trudeau writes a tweet about the massacres in Beirut, all he says is Sayyid Hassan, that he was a terrorist and so on. Why? Why does he write this? Because he wants to hide the slaughter. He wants to distract people away from the slaughter. Even if we were the terrorists, and they are the terrorists. Justin Trudeau is the terrorist. He is the guy who helped support the genocide in Yemen and the genocide in Gaza, and he is supporting the Israeli regime carry out its genocidal attacks in Lebanon. He is a racist monster, and the political establishment. It doesn't matter if they're Christian Zionists or Jewish Zionists on the right, or these woke liberals on the left. They're all the
Secular
same.
Zionists.
Yeah, they're all the same. Whether they can have 1,001 genders in Toronto and New York, but when it comes to our region, they're right behind the chosen people.
Yeah, well, I mean, it all started with a European
Yes.
convert to Judaism claiming that they are a Semite, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, therefore, if a European man can call himself a Semite, they can call themselves a woman if they want to also.
Yeah, of course. So they are firmly behind this, and that will include the media. I'm not saying everyone in the media is corrupted, but that's the media, Western media. It's a part of the political establishment. It's part of the, affiliated to the centers of power. If you don't toe the line, you're out. They'll replace you quite immediately. It doesn't matter if it's Fox News or CNN or MSNBC or BBC or Sky News. Ultimately, they're all the same when it comes to the global south and when it comes to Palestine. Some may be a bit more sophisticated, some may be more crude, but they're still all the same. Some people may try to, journalists or others may try to justify what they're doing by saying, well, if I weren't doing this, someone else would be doing it here. Maybe I did this small thing but we know what's going on. I think the war will expand. I think the Israelis will probably try to enter Lebanon. I'm sure they will be defeated. I have no doubt that Iran will firmly support the resistance. They are trying now to create divisions within the axis of resistance and say Iran is not going to do anything, Iran has betrayed the resistance. That's a part of their narrative now. And we've seen this happen in the past. But Iran will, and we know that all the sanctions against Iran, the suffering that they've imposed on the Iranian people for decades to make them kneel, it's all about Palestine. It's never been about the nuclear program or human rights or animal rights or global warming or whatever it is tomorrow they're going to use against Iran. It's all about Palestine, and it's all about the people of this region. It's because Iran is taking a principled position, and because Iran is principled, and of course the West, they're the ones who have a monopoly on principle, so they can't tolerate these brown people being far superior to them. And that's really one reason why they're so much against us, because some of these people are consciously or unconsciously so deeply racist that they can't even imagine that they are actually the morally inferior ones. It's unacceptable to them. So I can understand why they want to crush us. But Iran has been sacrificing a lot. Iran has helped. It is the reason why we have these military capabilities in Gaza that has prevented it from falling. And Iran is continuing to support Gaza, the West Bank, Yemen, which is playing a key role. All its capabilities, its underground capabilities, at least financially, I'm sure come from Iran. And even expertise, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, of course. And that will continue, but I think it will intensify. I don't want to be specific because I don't want to pretend that I'm a decision maker. I never was. I've never been in government. But I understand Iran, I think. Over the years, Westerners like to say he's a propagandist. And I always tell people that, well, maybe I'm a propagandist, but why is it that over the last 2 decades that I've been in the media, I've always been right and you've always been wrong? So
they pretend that they know the Arab and Muslim mind, when in reality we know their mind much more.
We know them much better than they know us.
Yes.
And their knowledge of us is based upon, and I don't mean all people in the West, there are lots of people who've decolonized their minds and they're growing in number. We should be optimistic on that front. And there are some who always were like this. But their understanding of us is warped with racism, Orientalism, which we don't need to get into now. But the point is that I think the war will expand. I don't know how far it will expand. I think the Americans are very fearful of pushing too far, because if push comes to shove, then everyone will be all in. And if that happens, all American assets in this region will be destroyed. And they can easily be destroyed. They will be overrun in Iraq and Syria by the Iraqi resistance. In the Persian Gulf, their bases will be destroyed, but far more importantly, those regimes that host them, they will be destroyed because they will be a part of the aggression. So those gas installations, those oil installations, those tankers, they'll all be gone. There are so many underground Iranian missile and drone sites across the country, with 1,000 times more than what is needed to, well, maybe tens of times more than what is needed to destroy all this.
Mighty Yemen has already hit 3 American destroyers over the last few days, and the US is admitting it for the first time. We know they've been hitting American naval ships for months now, since the beginning of this war. It is, just living in the West and looking at how the elite is willing to kill their own people to actually maintain this Zionist colony. I am of the feeling that this could go all the way. But what will happen to China and Russia if actually the US directly invades, let's say, Lebanon, or bombards Syria, or bombard Iran? Do you feel that those countries could also get involved? Could we find ourselves in a world war just to maintain the Zionist colony?
We won't need them. They will be defeated. If the oil and gas installations are destroyed, those oil and gas installations that are affiliated to the West, the global economy goes down. It's more than 1,000 atomic bombs. So they know what the ultimate price will be for them. There is a balance of terror now. They can terrorize our women and children here in Lebanon and in Gaza and slaughter, but there is a balance of terror now. The Americans can easily be overwhelmed in Iraq too. As I said, the resistance will wipe them out. So
we already saw those demonstrations yesterday.
That's just the tip of the iceberg.
And the attacks on the Conoco oil fields.
Tip of the iceberg. That's just to remind them where things stand. But more importantly, I think, is the fact that the West is rapidly on the decline. They're the ones who are destroying themselves economically. The war and the endless wars, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, now Ukraine, they are emptying their pockets, they're destroying their economy, they're emptying their military capabilities, and they've destroyed their image across the world. People see what's going on in Gaza. People see what's going on, and now with Lebanon added to Gaza, the outrage across the world is unimaginable. If you and I together, we had $1 trillion, we couldn't do the damage that they've done to themselves in the eyes of the global community, the damage that they've caused to themselves. If we had $1 trillion, we couldn't do this damage. Their image has been destroyed among their own people, but across the world. People are not stupid. People see the reality. People see who they are. And so I think that economically, militarily, and their image alongside that is going down the drain. The Western Empire is dying. They're killing themselves faster than we had expected. We always saw, we've been talking about this, many of us, for decades, about the decline of the West. They are pushing this, they're fast forwarding this decline, and it's collapsing now. So I'm optimistic. It will, as I said, it can become very bad for the world. Because if there's a global economic collapse, that means people across the world will suffer. And we don't want that. We don't want a regional war. But if they escalate, we will escalate with them. And sometimes people ask me over the last couple of days or the last few days, why are they hitting and why are we not hitting back? From the very beginning, the objective has been to respond to escalation. We want the world to see, and our own people to see how monstrous they are, so that when we respond, people will say, you did the right thing.
So looking at their propaganda that you mentioned, obviously they have lost the propaganda war. And in fact,
It's been a rout.
without,
They've been wiped out.
yeah, with this whole media empire that they control, the Gulf media, the West media, everything.
All of them together.
And they couldn't defeat a few TikTokers and Instagram videos from that because it's truth. The truth. They were trying to convince the world to deny reality that we see in our eyes and so forth. But right now we see a huge shift in their propaganda, and I'm going to try to end this soon, like so we can all get where we need to go. But we saw a huge shift in their propaganda. In the beginning, they were trying to convince people that Palestinians are killing themselves. But now, as we see, they've abandoned the propaganda war and are only directing themselves to the most filthy core of supporters that they have. Looking at how they're tweeting joy at the death of, and they're telling openly the people, well, if you don't like that, stop fighting us. We will kill you and your family if you don't. Openly.
We're
genocide.
Amalek. Yeah, we're all Amalek. We're all inferior. We're all subhuman. Even those of us who go to the West and join them and who want to be a part of their club, they will never be a part of their club. They can dye their hair and, have nose jobs and wear colored lenses and walk and talk like them, but they'll never be them. And Zionism has been defeated. And even the most liberal and pro-Western Iranians are now having second thoughts. They're thinking more deeply about reality. The Americans have worked very hard in the Europeans, and Iran is just an example. The anti-Iranian media apparatus, the Persian media, is unbelievable. There's nothing like it in the world directed at Russia or China, because they've been doing it for years when we were the axis of evil. There was no Russia and China back then. There's far more Persian media beaming into the country against Iran than there is inside Iran. Day and night telling people how miserable you are, and Iran is the worst country in the world, and how impoverished you are, and how evil the regime is, and how corrupt it is. And lots of young people believe them. The riots a couple of years ago in Iran was not about a headscarf or anything like that. It was because, first, they lied about this young woman, Mahsa Amini, being beaten to death and tortured. All this media said that, and a lot of young people were convinced that it was true. And there was never any footage of it, and the autopsy didn't show it. But by then, there were riots, and these young people it was not about her. They thought, the West is good and liberal, and we're the troublemakers. Now, some of my own students who are part of these riots and protests have spoken to me and said, these people are crazy. They are evil. They are slaughtering these people in Gaza. The West has not just strengthened the resistance. They've not just destroyed their image in the eyes of those in the gray area. They've destroyed themselves in the eyes of those who believed in them, who were misled to believing in them. And now only those core evil people, for the most part, are left, who are racists, who are Zionists, who are racial supremacists, who view us as Amalek. And when I was on Sky News yesterday, and the lady was saying, when I was talking about genocide and how Western media is siding with the genocide. She's saying, oh, there are lawyers who are discussing this. Really? Really? There are lawyers who are discussing this? These people know what's happening. They know what they're doing. And only people like themselves who either want to fool themselves or who are with them continue to believe in them. But everyone else has moved on. People are waking up. This genocide, I think, has changed the world. And the assault on Lebanon, and the assault on Lebanon has, by the way, has strengthened Hezbollah. Those who thought Hezbollah was wrong in Syria, now they understand. Those who are clear-sighted and honest, they know that what Syria was about now. No one defends the Sunnis like Hezbollah. Hezbollah joined this war voluntarily. They're even more heroic than Ansarullah. Not that they're better, but this is even more heroic, this act, than because Ansarullah has been paying a price, but Hezbollah is right on the border of this evil regime. They've been giving martyrs, and those who are saying, oh, this is just token, because they're bad faith actors and some naive people. Well, if there was just token, why this devastation now? Why this slaughter now? Why these acts of revenge now? Hezbollah has grown in the eyes of the world, and not just the people of our region. People from all across the world contact me in different ways or forms. Some think I'm, I don't know, important or something, and I'm not. I'm just a teacher. I just came here just like you. If you were in Iran or somewhere else, you would have come here like me because you thought you could help. So we're all in this together, but people from across the world look at Hezbollah in a different light now. They look at Iran in a different light. Ansarullah, you know that during the genocide, the Western-backed genocide on Yemen, how in our part of the world people were not supporting Ansarullah. I don't want to go into detail. You know it, and I know it. Look at Ansarullah today.
They are the symbol of the wretched of the earth.
Exactly.
That are rising against the biggest empire. Our martyrs are lighting the way.
So what I'm saying is that the path ahead is clear. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. You and I, others, many of us may not see it. This building is a potential target. You know as well as I do that it's a potential target. But we have to do what we have to do. And if we go, and the people in this building go, do you think anything is going to change? No, because the people are awake. It will be bloody. I'm not trying to exaggerate. I don't think anything is going to happen, and I think that I will probably return to Iran in the coming days or weeks. And hopefully, inshallah, you and our dear friends here, you'll all see far better days, you and your families. But the point is that you and I we speak in English, but people across this country and beyond, there are so many who are willing to make this stand, and who will be, and even if they fail, and they will not, it's like Karbala, it's like Imam Hussein. You do what is right, and that is all that is important. Once Imam Khomeini said that it doesn't matter if we win or lose. If they destroy us, it doesn't matter. We do what is right. We do what is right, and we support the disenfranchised. Of course, some may say, these people, they think their countries or their movements are utopian. No, Hezbollah has people from all walks of life, people who are very good, people who are ordinary. Iran has its own problems. It's no utopia. But the overall, when we look at everything together, Hezbollah, the broader resistance in Lebanon, its supporters, across Syria, Iraq, across the region, and across the world, this resistance, they are right, they are good, and those supporting the Zionist regime, they are wrong, and they are either evil or they are supporting evil in their ignorance.
They say in English, you can't block the sun with your hand. And definitely our martyrs have been burning light upon this earth that is awakening the masses and have definitely guided us up until now. Inshallah, we will meet again, Dr. Marandi, in a liberated Palestine. Inshallah, we will all survive it. Inshallah, all our people will be safe. Until we meet next time in Wartime Cafe, hopefully, inshallah, in Jerusalem, I bid you all a free Palestine.
إن مع العسر يسرا.
إن مع العسر يسرا.